Hello, Slicey Dicers. This is Brian with a quick little video for you. This is not a battle to the death as we often do. This is more just a consumer advice thing. I've done a review recently, just actually yesterday, of this new WE Practic, and I had previously done a little first impressions, but almost was a full review of the WE Rectifier. I like them both. They're both exemplify a direction that WE is going, making these more practical kind of EDC sort of knives. A lot of guys are really excited about it, but I've gotten a whole lot of emails just in the last 24 hours about which one should I get between the two, which one should I get. And I had mentioned in the review of the Practic I was going to do this sometime. I was planning on actually doing it like later next week, but I've gotten so many emails from you guys, I'm bumping it up. I'm just going to do it now. Again, this is not a full battle to the death kind of thing because both of these are awesome knives and I highly recommend both of them. We're just going to kind of go through the difference because they're almost identical in price. Both meant to be EDC knives. You got $146 for the Practic, $144.50 for the Rectifier, so pretty much the same price. And both excellent knives, excellent materials, both kind of designed for sort of the same thing. So let's just get into it. I'm going to do some really quick stats on these just so you know the differences. You have a length of 7.5 inches for the Practic, blade length of 3.3 inches, blade thickness of 0.13 inches, handle thickness of 0.52 inches, and a weight of 3.2 ounces. Set that aside for a moment. Let's talk about the Rectifier. The Rectifier is a bit smaller. You have 6.875 inches overall length, just under 3-inch blade length. You have a blade thickness, thinner also, 0.10, and a handle thickness a bit thinner again, 0.4 inches, and a weight of 2.75 ounces, so a little bit smaller and lighter. So let's just talk about the differences in them though. The biggest difference is it's kind of choose your own adventure at this price with WE. It's kind of cool they did this. So the Practic has an M390 blade with a liner lock, G10 scales on both sides, where the Rectifier is S35 VN steel, technically not quite as nice, but still an awesome steel, and a titanium frame lock. And again, it's just a little bit smaller. Other differences visually, both of them come in the same color combos to a point. Both come in this tan or this black or an OD green on the G10, but the difference is the Rectifier also comes in a version with where this is stonewash on the blade. It can be black DLC, where the Rectifier is always this nice satin on the M390. So if you want something a little more stylishly, a little more flashy, I do think this is a little bit, neither one are particularly flashy looking knives, but I think this one is just a little bit more stylish maybe, especially with the nice titanium side there and stuff. I think this one looks, and you can get the DLC if you want it, I think this is just a little bit flashier. Now, where the comparison stops, if you're debating between the two, if you live in a place where you can only carry 3-inch blade, the Rectifier, it's under 3 inches. This is 3.3. So debate stopped there. If that's the case, get that out of the way right off the bat. If you were in a place where you can carry 3.5 inch, 4 inch, whatever, then it becomes a much more complicated choice. You've got, it just depends. Do you like a frame lock better than a liner lock? Are you willing to go down just a little bit in the steel to get something that I think is a little bit better slicer? Yes, this is S35 VN instead of M390. S35 VN is still awesome. This is thinner blade stock. It's thinner behind the edge. You're looking at about 16 thousandths on this versus about 20, 19.5, 20 on the Rectifier. They both do, or I mean on the Practic, they both do have nice hollow grinds. They are both excellent slicers, but this is thicker blade stock, 0.13 versus 0.10. This is a better slicer, for sure. And it does also, it has a tiny little bit of recurve, which I think does kind of help a little bit when slicing long pieces of cardboard and stuff like that. But you may hate recurves. It's another thing. If you hate recurve, go with this. But other than that, you know, they're both the same kind of quality. Action-wise, I will say I think that the Rectifier is just a bit snappier. It's super snappy. The D10 is just a bit harder. Where on the Rectifier, it's still really good. The D10 is very good. But it's not quite as snappy as the Rectifier. Few things are, though, so that's not really much of a surprise. I do like the noises that the Rectifier makes better, if that matters to you. That's a very solid sounding little click. you've got just plain G10 scales on one side, and I have full titanium frame locks that don't make that satisfying of a noise. That's nice. And it makes a good noise when it pops out. You can fail it though, light switching it. Oh, and I just failed to fail it. See, I said it's not bad, it's just, yeah, so you can fail it, where the Rectifier, very, very hard to fail. I mean, sorry, the Practic, I'm gonna get these two confused. The Practic, extremely hard to fail. Yeah, I just did it there, but it's much harder to do. I think the action on this is just that slight little bit better just because of that snappy detent. But this has another advantage. You can open it multiple ways. It's got the nice little arachnid-esque hole in it, so you can thumb open it, you can spidey flick it, you can do all kinds of cool things with it. So I think the detent on this is just a bit better, but this has more options to play with. So that's up to you, and that's probably why the detent is just a bit weaker on this, because they know you want to use that hole. So another thing to think about. What else to think about? I think this carries just a little bit better. It is lighter and thinner. They're both pretty thin in the pocket, honestly. Not too far off. I think this is the Rectifier is a slight bit taller. We're looking at about, no, I'm totally doing it off camera here. About 1.5 inches versus, yeah, not too far off, really. I think this carries just a slight bit better, mostly because the handle's a little thinner and it's just a little bit lighter. But that's not a huge difference. Ergonomically, this obviously, if you have really big hands, go for this. These are large hands with skinny fingers, and I got full 4 fingers on this thing, and it does have a bit of a choil I can choke up on. So ergonomically, if you got big hands, go with the Practic. But again, these are large size hands, and this fits great. If you're looking for a 3-inch knife and you have fairly normal but large-ish size hands, this is a great knife for that. Fits my hands a lot better than most other 3-inch knives do. I do sometimes wish that I had a forward finger choil, but then you would lose some of the cutting edge, so I understand that. Yeah, and quality construction-wise, they're about the same. Like I said, they're both from the same place. I will say, as far as the ergonomics go, getting back on topic here, the jimping on this is a bit extreme. It's not crazy sharp, but it is pretty rough, so if you have really sensitive hands, you're going to prefer this. This doesn't have much jimping at all, and what does is functional, but not crazy sharp. So I think that's about all I really wanted to cover on. I said this was going to be a quick video, and it is. I just wanted to just compare the differences between these two if you're debating between them, because I know according to my email box, a lot of you are. So that's kind of my thing. Under 3 inches, then you got to get this. If you can carry over 3 inches, it is a bit of a debate. I think this carries a little bit better. It's got the tie frame lock. I think it's a little cooler looking. I think it slices a little better, but you get more blade with this, and ergonomics are probably a little better, and you get better steel. M390 versus S35VN, both awesome steels. I can't believe that we live in an age where I'm almost kind of complaining about S35. That's crazy town. But I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I've been Brian. Have a good one.